Hello, Purple for Parents. Steve Daniels here. How are you doing? Happy Taco Tuesday to everyone. So, wanted to come live to you. We've got a couple issues that we wanted to cover real quick and provide some updates. The first update, real quick, just to get this out of the way. The situation in Chandler with the Castile High parent and teacher, that's still going on active. We're going to be addressing that at a future board meeting. We did cancel the last attendance for everyone due to legal advice for the parent. So she had requested that, but we will be showing up at a future board meeting to discuss the issues going there. And we appreciate everyone's support and flexibility on that. And we look forward to having everyone attend. The main topic we have is Purple for Parents has really started to support parents' rights, the kids, school choice, etc., but then also teachers. And I don't think that's been focused as much as it could have been, and as much as we'll probably provide focus moving forward, because we have a situation that's happened in Indiana with a teacher in the, let's see, so we've got the Frankton Lapel Community Schools and Frankton Elementary, where there's a teacher by the name of Jennifer who she's actually the one that started Purple for Parents Indiana, and she had supported our group, and she had posted some information about some of the curriculum and topics that she necessarily didn't agree with and that we don't agree with either. And a situation arose this past week where she was actually fired from her position as a teacher for expressing these views. And all it took was one Facebook post. And it wasn't a long rant. It was simply posting a link about the curriculum, the social emotional learning curriculum that they're using in their district, in their school, that she didn't agree with. And one of the, I believe it was one of the district employees that she is either friends with or somehow was brought attention to her post on Facebook, brought it to the school, the principal's attention, and she was called into the principal's office this last Friday on Valentine's Day, no less, and they fired her. And I'll let her explain why that took place and kind of her background and how we can help support her and other teachers in similar positions. Because as it stands right now, the union, the teachers union, the districts, Red for Ed, they're out for blood. And if you don't support them and their agenda, they're coming after you. They're coming after the kids. They're coming after the parents. They're coming after the teachers. They're coming after politicians. They're coming after our jobs. It's, some of our members locally here in Arizona have experienced the doxing and having their employers contacted as well. So we've got to fight back against this very leftist, progressive, I call it Marxist, communist agenda that they're pushing. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Jennifer. Jennifer, we appreciate what you've done so far. We appreciate you being on this call. And just to start it off, if you would just simply introduce yourself and how you got involved with Purple for Parents.
Sure. Hey, thanks for having me on here. So at my school back in the fall, I received an email through my school email, and it said, hey, get a shirt, this red shirt. Your administration has approved it to be wore on Wednesdays to support education. It was pretty vague. So, I went home that evening and looked into it. And as I started researching what this movement was, that's when I started finding a lot of information that was not positive about the socialist push, this radical agenda, the NEA's resolutions, all of these things that were really alarming to me. So I went, as in my research, I actually found an article that was there was a lot of articles about Arizona, about what you guys were going through out there. And I found one that talked about a group, Purple for Parents. And it talked about the success that Purple for Parents had out in Arizona. And I thought, hey, this is right up my alley. I had posted a couple things on Facebook and was actually mocked a little bit by some teachers in my area for even suggesting that Red for Ed had anything to do with those things. So,
wow.
So I reached out to just the main Purple for Parents page, and I said, hey, I'm a teacher in Indiana. I get what you guys are saying and what you're doing, and I think what the success you've had is awesome, and I'm interested in bringing it out here to Indiana.
Awesome. Well, that's interesting that you stumbled upon it just because you noticed what was going on didn't sit right with you. So appreciate you reaching out. So to kind of expound upon that further, you started the group in Indiana, and then from there, how has that grown and how active has it been?
Sure. So yeah, I spoke with Forrest on the phone, and he got me started out here in Arizona, in Indiana. And honestly, it was, at first, my husband and I would just sit, and Red for Ed was pretty big at the time. They were getting ready to have their big downtown Indianapolis event where all the teachers were shutting down schools because they were, walking out for the day, basically, to go downtown and let the legislators know that they wanted more money. So my husband and I would just get on Facebook and start scrolling and find people that were opposed to it, and we were like, hey, we started this new group, we have some great information, we want to get out to you. And from there it just started snowballing. We worked really hard at the beginning, and as the Red for Ed started kicking up in the news more and more, then we were able to get some recognition, and it really just built from there. So I had a couple local newspaper reach out, and I had a newspaper article come out about what I was trying to, get the word out about the other side of Red for Ed.
Okay.
And I did a couple, a YouTube channel with someone in our area that has a following, and it built from there. So we have definitely had some recognition in the area for Purple for Parents Indiana. Okay,
awesome. So the school, the district, I mean, they are aware, I assume, of your presence and your involvement with Purple for Parents.
They were, yeah.
Okay.
And in fact, the paper that I did the article, that did the first article, and it was on the front page, was our local paper. So everybody knew that I had started it.
Okay.
But I did work on it only in my private time. It is not something I push during school hours or anything like that.
Sure. No, that makes sense. I was just curious because it'll lead into further questions that we have as far as what they knew about your involvement, and what I suspect, and probably many others suspect, and you probably suspect, was this was a retaliation firing for not agreeing with their agenda.
Yeah.
So the next thing I believe you did was, a part of your involvement, you actually wrote to the superintendent of your district asking them to stop pushing the Red for Ed. Is that correct?
I did, because after it was November 19th, I believe, is when the big downtown Red for Ed event was in Indianapolis. And during that week, it bothered me a lot because there was emails going out in our school district, and I'm sure it wasn't just in ours. I know it was across the state, giving skewed statistics and all of these things to get support for Red for Ed. Well, they were also, in my school, they even announced and asked the children to wear red.
Wow.
To support public education on that Tuesday that they were doing those. And I just thought, first of all, these kids have nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
And the parents, there's many parents that probably have no idea why these kids are wearing red, especially when our school color was red.
So the district was supporting this. The superintendent was supporting this. They were trying to get the kids to wear red.
Yep.
Wow. So did they actually do the walkout?
I'm sorry, what?
I'm sorry, did they actually do the walkout? Did they leave the school?
So our school did not close. Thankfully, we did not have, it wasn't, so they were just having a one-day event downtown. Now, I'm not sure. It was something massive, though. There were school districts across the state that shut down. It was a big deal because they did not have enough teachers that would work. Now, we had some teachers that went, but our school did not actually shut down. But prior to that, before they were trying to figure out how many teachers were going to go to the event, and our superintendent put out a message saying that he supported them for doing this, and that, but he didn't, rather than what did he say? Something was close. He wanted to do it. Rather than doing an e-learning day, if we did have enough teachers go, that he would have rather had a makeup day, was how it was.
So essentially, they're not being responsible to the taxpayers who employ them, because they're basically saying, yeah, go ahead, leave your workplace. Which I got to tell you, if as a private employee, if I did that to my employer, I don't think I would have a job after that if I just took off, and I'm sure most other people wouldn't as well. So once you got past that, let's kind of bring it more present now. So last week, I believe it was on Monday, you posted an article or a blog post about the social emotional learning program that's in your school and in your district. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, so
yep,
you simply posted the link. You didn't really put a whole lot of narrative around it. You simply said, hey, this is going on. You should take a look.
Right. The social emotional learning program in our school has really ramped up. This is the third year of it, and it's in everything in the school. And I had been thinking, for a while that how could you even opt your child out of this? And so this blog post came to me, and it was specifically about the social emotional learning program that is at the school, and I posted it, and I just thought, it made some really good points. It talked about some concerns with the program, and I put it on there, and I had made a comment about how at this point in the program within the school, you couldn't even opt your child out of it because it's in everything.
So there's no opt out because it was ingrained in the entire curriculum. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Wow.
It is. It's in everything. It's in all the bulletin boards. It's in the language. Anytime a child is praised or awarded, is the language that they use. They have a committee that is dedicated to trying to pull the community into the school to learn this so they can take it into their homes. That was my concerns, and I posted that last Monday.
We've been dealing with some similar things here as far as equity, the Corwin program, which I don't know if you're familiar with, but it sounds very similar, where they're trying to get the teachers essentially indoctrinated so then they can in turn push that on the kids, and then the kids can take it home to their families. It's pretty scary stuff if you look at the grand agenda that they have. So that was on Monday, and then on Friday you were called into the principal's office, and explain what took place when you got called into the principal's office.
Sure. So I was asked to come in there first thing in the morning on Friday, which I did.
On Valentine's Day.
Yes, on Valentine's Day. And so I went in there, and there was no discussion. They just told me that I could resign, or that they were letting me go.
Wow. So that was it. Say they called you in and said, okay, your services are no longer needed. You can either resign or we can let you go. And did they give you any sort of explanation at that point?
They did. I asked them why, of course, and they told me that I was hurting the reputation of the school. They told me that they were concerned because there were teachers in the school that were upset and offended by things that I had said. Mind you, not in the school. This is just in my personal life, and not any. The only thing that they had was the post that I had put out there.
Okay.
And they told me I was not they told me I was not a team player. They also told me I was being untruthful, and I asked them I said, what am I being untruthful about? Because everything I've put out there is true. And they really didn't have an answer for me as far as that goes. They didn't have any specifics. That's when they kind of went into telling me that teachers were upset and offended. They told me that I was not being truthful because I had mentioned that the school was going to be, I think on the post, maybe I said graded, but assessed basically on how well we were using the program, which is true because this Leader in Me program, once this is into your school, you can upgrade to what they call a lighthouse status, which is what my school is working, the school is working on right now. And I actually wrote this down because I thought the Lighthouse status from the Covey Leader in Me program, and this is what it says about it, that it is a highly regarded standard set by Franklin Covey that is attainable by every Leader in Me school, based on extraordinary impact that schools have on staff, students, parents, and the greater community. And that is how you get Lighthouse School status, and that is what my school was going for. So you only get that type of status if you are assessed on how well you're using the program, but they told me I was lying.
Wow. So it sounds to me like they're trying to achieve an activism status, that they're trying to create activists instead of educated kids.
Yep.
That's what it sounds like to me. And you know, Franklin Covey, I've not necessarily heard anything bad about his books. In fact, I've read some of them in the past, and I just don't think that's an appropriate material for children. And it doesn't belong in schools where they need to be learning the basics instead of how to be a social, emotional learner, essentially, or how to be a
social justice warrior.
Social justice warrior. There's a good way to put it. Instead of being a community activist. So that's a good point. So they bring you in. They tell you that you're being let go. They don't give you any real explanation other than the fact that you're not being a team player, you're being quote-unquote untruthful, and that you've made other people uncomfortable. And the only thing they have to reference really is that one Facebook post.
Yep, that's it.
Okay,
that's
and as far as you understand or know, has the superintendent, the district, their legal, HR, do you know if they've given any sort of statement, or if they're the ones that supported this termination?
I have no idea. I was told that what I just told you when I went in there. They told me that they need my keys, and then they stood outside the room while I packed my room up and walked out the door with me. That was it. That's unbelievable to me. Really kind of speechless about that. I don't know quite what to say. I mean, I'm frustrated. I'm angry. I'm hurt for you because I'm sure this was an extremely emotional day, and losing your livelihood because of a Facebook post is, to me, just utterly ridiculous. So what we want to do to help support, and I know you're probably aware of this, but we, as Purple for Parents, we started a GoFundMe. Because when you put your video out, I believe it was yesterday afternoon. Yep, last night. I know that all of the leadership for Purple for Parents, I mean, we all reacted the same way in complete disgust, and we wanted to immediately support. And so we started that GoFundMe, and I believe we've raised, as of right now, over $1,100. And I believe that they'll be posting the link in this group. Angie, Michelle, if you guys can help take care of that, make sure that everybody has that link so that they can help support your family, because I'm sure this will be a financial burden to you, having lost one of your sources of income. Is that correct? That's correct. I appreciate that very much.
And I just want to be very clear to everybody. This was not anything that Jennifer, her family, requested. She had nothing to do with it. I know a lot of people always make these accusations that people are trying to profit from a situation like this, and couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, this is something that we did separately from, we're over 2,000, Michelle just said. Oh, wow, that is awesome. Wow. So I had literally looked at it before we started this live, and we were just at 1,100, so it's almost doubled in the last 20, 30 minutes, so that is amazing. All of those proceeds will go to you to support your family, whatever legal resources that you're going to be retaining, because I'm sure that there's going to be some sort of recourse that you have to go after in this case.
Right. Well, I appreciate anyone that's supporting.
Definitely.
Even spreading the word on what happened, because, I hope that this will help bring some light to some of the things that's going on in these schools. Definitely.
And to your point, your original Facebook post was just over two and a half minutes, and I believe on Facebook alone it's over 100, and Michelle, correct me, I think we're over 140,000 views on Facebook alone. And on Twitter, I believe we have another 70,000 plus views of your video. So wow, I think we're over 200,000, and we could be close to 250,000 views at this point. In fact, let me check the numbers, because I believe we're actually higher than that at this point. It's pretty amazing what this has done in just the last 24 hours. It's sad that it takes something like this, though. It's really sad that it takes someone like yourself who's standing up for the kids, standing up for other teachers, standing up for the community, to have to suffer this type of loss in order to get people active and get them to speak out against what's going on in our schools. But it takes heroes and warriors like you, and as Michelle just said, you're a hero to many at this point, because you also, I want to mention, you also pulled your child out of this school. And we don't want to, I don't want to get too much into the situation with your kids, because that's very private, but you did share that you actually pulled your child out of this school because you didn't trust that they would be able to educate, and you also were afraid of retaliation against your child. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I mean, I was honestly thought just in that moment, wow, I just got fired for using my First Amendment right and bringing light to something that parents should know. There's more to the story, and I knew I had to take my child out of there, because I can't trust that she would be treated fairly by. And I'm not saying that's not. There's many good people there, so but I'm just. It makes you concerned.
Yeah.
When you speak out, if something like that happens.
Yeah, no, I understand.
You wonder the intentions of everyone.
Yeah, to your point, I mean, this isn't everyone. I mean, there's so many good teachers. No. My dad was a lifelong educator. He taught for 39 years in private and public education. Myself, I was homeschooled for a certain number of years. I went to a Christian private school for a certain number of years, and I went to public school for a certain number of years. So I kind of ran the gamut on that, and I understand the different environments. And growing up in an educator household, my mom was also a teacher before they had me. So, I understand kind of what it's like, and hearing the stories. And my dad's been retired for 5 years now, but it was getting bad back then. I can only imagine what it's like right now. So we need more teachers like you to speak up. And as a group, there's strength in numbers. And I think that's what's hard, is that teachers are going to face consequences like you, but the more that speak up and the more that form a group and they form numbers, that's where the strength will come. Right.
Well, I can tell you, I know there's people that are not happy with me right now, but there is a lot of good people at that school. So I do want to be clear that to me, it was more about the program, and I don't know that I don't believe the amount of research that needed to go into that program was even done. I have a hard time believing that, but there's good people there, and I am not saying that there's not. So, I want to put that out there. But
yeah, definitely.
Teachers are afraid, though. I do want to say that there are teachers that are afraid to say anything bad about a program like Leader in Me or speak up against Red for Ed. And I have many people that have, kind of behind from the shadows given me a thumbs up and saying, thank you for doing this, thank you for speaking out. Yeah. And I think it would be helpful for parents and communities to get behind those teachers and those people that are afraid to speak out, because this is something that they're afraid of happening.
I agree, and I think it's something that we're going to have to talk to our legislators about. I mean, they have whistleblower statutes that apply to many other industries, governmental agencies, and I feel like that needs to apply in cases like this.
Right.
While you're not exposing a direct maybe corruption, quote unquote, you're exposing a harmful program, and you're simply talking about it, and you're being, in my opinion, retaliated against for it. So there needs to be protections for teachers, for employees, etc. of these schools, that when they raise their voice, that they're not going to be fearful of losing their job, because this cannot happen. This cannot continue to happen. We have to push back against this, and just know that you've brought a lot of awareness to the situation, because this isn't just happening in Indiana. This isn't just happening in Arizona. This is happening across the United States. And we're hearing story upon story on social media right now about people who are experiencing the same fear that that you dealt with and are now going through the consequence of.
Yes. Yep. Exactly. I would encourage anyone that isn't sure about this, because there's a lot of people that don't know what the social emotional learning is, or if you just look it up on the surface, it seems like, what's the big deal? These programs are coming from something called CASEL. It's the Collaborative maybe Association for Social Emotional Learning, something like that. So
Okay.
CASEL, and
Okay.
there's several programs down there that are being used across this nation, honestly, and our schools.
Okay, so it's definitely something they need to look at. What would you say would you like to see happen? How can we better support as a group? And then what would you like to see other teachers and parents do?
Well, people need to be aware first of what is going on, especially within their own schools. I would encourage everyone to call the school, and I'm not just talking to parents, because this is about taxpayers, it is about people that care for children, honestly, the future of the next generation.
I agree.
So I would call the school and I would ask them, do you have a social emotional learning program? What is it called? And I would start looking into it. And honestly, Purple for Parents, I know between Arizona and Indiana, we have some amazing people and resources that will help guide people to understand what's behind this. But everything that we're saying, you don't have to trust what we're saying. You can look it up.
Yeah,
it's out there. You have to take the initiative to do it.
Awesome. Yeah, we need to hold the school boards accountable as well, because they
Absolutely.
ultimately are the ones that are approving these curriculums, right?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's where the ball gets dropped many times. We've noticed that here locally, is that these school boards, for whatever their intent is, they are not vetting these programs appropriately. And if they are and they have an agenda, that's a whole other separate topic, and we have to replace these boards with individuals that actually support parents' rights, because
Right.
this is infringing on parents' rights to do what they want is best for their kids, and they're being indoctrinated with information that I don't agree with, I know you don't agree with, and most others don't agree with.
Absolutely. Yep.
Awesome.
And I would find out what those programs are, and then start going to the school boards and saying, hey,
Going to the boards.
do you know what's behind this?
Yep.
And start educating them on it.
Get loud. I mean, that's the thing, is people have to show up, and that's the one last thing I think we want to say is you have to show up. You can't just sit online, and there's nothing wrong with spreading the word, because that's how this happens. But then once you've done that, you've got to make the calls, you've got to send the emails, you've got to go meet with the superintendent, with the principal, you've got to show up to the board meetings, and you've got to speak, and you have to be fearless. It's hard. I mean, I've done it.
It's hard.
I've done it. I know you've clearly done it, and it's not easy, but it's the only way that we're going to protect our kids, protect our generation, and take back this country. I mean, you see the attacks that our conservative politicians, our president, for instance, he goes through, whether or not you agree with him or not. He's being attacked daily, and he goes through it because he knows he's doing what he feels is best for America, and that's the same thing we need to do at our local level. We have to do the same thing.
I agree completely. We have to, and parents, I hope this will bring awareness. It's brought some, and I hope it keeps going and lets people know that if the school's willing to fire me over something like this, and what I put on there was truthful. It was just truthful concerns.
Yeah.
That should be a red flag for everyone, whether they agree with, me politically or in any way. It should be a red flag for everybody.
I agree. You shouldn't be fired for voicing your opinion. It's your First Amendment right to do so. So we definitely appreciate it. We will continue to support. We'll continue to give the group updates. We'll be posting much more. We're hoping that this reaches a higher level. I would like to see the current administration address this. I would like to hear Betsy DeVos.
Yes.
I would like to hear her opinion on this. She's the I can't even remember what her title is, but she's basically the head of education for the Trump administration, and I'd like to hear her address this issue. So we'll continue to push this. Whatever you need, please don't hesitate to reach out. Everyone in the group, please share this story. Please share the link to the GoFundMe. Donate what you can. Jennifer and her family do need the help while she finds another job, gets back on her feet. It's going to be tough because, she's lost her job as an educator, and you know how that community is, and it's going to be tough for her. So please help support. And if we can do anything, Jennifer, please let us know.
Hey, thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate your time. Have a great evening.